3 in New York. Just gonna answer some of the questions of the day that I put up there. If you're watching in the chat, maybe you can give your response to some of the questions that I have, and maybe you could shed light on what you think and give your perspective, right? So I do this daily thing where I post a short, anywhere from 15 to like 25 seconds, maybe 30 the most, about the question of the day. And it's the question of the day that has to do with life, relationships, it has to do with, marriages, divorce, whatever you're going through. I ask the question of the day. I ask if you think this is a red flag, what you could possibly get out of, co-parenting and have different, co-parenting styles. So this is something that the questions that I ask, I try to get people to hit me up in the comments. Sometimes people hit me up in the comments. Sometimes people direct message me. It is what it is. I would prefer it in the comments so that we can kind of get something going. And don't be afraid to put your response in the comments because you think that people are going to hate on you, because they're really not going to be hating on you. Believe it or not, people have the same perspective as you. So don't be afraid to put in the comments. We want to get this going. And it helps me out too if you put in the comments. Like I said, guys, I'm asking the questions, but I'm not an expert at this. So I'm not, judging you or anything. I'm actually asking questions. So don't think that because, you're going to put it in the question, you're going to put the question of the day in the comments, your response, that people are going to hate on you. People are not going to hate on you. Hey, what's going on, Rachel? I'm doing good. Everything's great. How are you? Everything's working out? I mean, listen, I'm going to ask some questions right now. I want people to hit it off in the chat. Give me a response. Rachel, I'm pretty sure that I know where you stand on some of these questions just from like other conversations. But so I put a question of the day out there about who takes priority in your relationship, your partner or your kids, right? And I kind of left it alone and I didn't really look into it. And today I checked in and there was a couple of people that actually commented on the question of the day of who comes first, your partner or your kids? Who takes priority in your relationship, your partner or your kids, right? I always had that stance of like the kids always came first. That was something that always took priority. My kids took priority and I always had that stance. I've heard of people, prioritizing their partner over their kids because they say, without the kids, then we have nothing. Or one day the kids are going to be gone and it's just going to be us, right? So like people, have mixed emotions about what it comes down to. If you prioritize your partner, or if you prioritize your kids, right? So I always felt that the kids came first and you always put your kids first because your kids were young. They didn't know any better. They needed guidance. You always had to be there for your kids. And like, that's how I kind of grew up, like with my family, right? Like Rachel says, I think the kids always come first. Absolutely, Rachel. That's something that I always thought. I always thought the kids came first. But in my past relationship, my marriage that I'm currently in the middle of the divorce with, my partner felt like she came first. That like I always prioritized the kids and that she had to come first because, if we weren't good, then, the kids weren't good. And let me tell you something. To an extent, I agree with that because I always thought that the kids came first. But like at the end, like when my marriage came to an end and like the demise of my marriage, I noticed that when me and her weren't good, the kids saw that me and her weren't good. And it really affected the kids. Like the kids were kind of acting out, weren't doing too good in school. Things weren't, so great on the home front. But like me and her did try to get back together. And when me and her were like good in that aspect, then the kids were good again. The kids like saw that me and her were good, and then the kids were good. So I kind of get where certain people come from when they say that the kids, need to come after your partner. I never understood it, but like after going through the circumstances of like a divorce, I realize where some people feel like, your partner should come first. And if your partner does come first and you do prioritize your partner, does that make your relationship better? I don't know. Let me know. Anybody that's watching in this chat right now, in your relationship, do you prioritize your partner over the kids, and do you see better results as far as your marriage and your household goes? Because like I get a lot of mixed reviews on this question. People, in my comments were saying that, I'm sure I'm going to stir the pot on this one, but your partner needs to come first. And I know a lot of people that are like that. A lot of people believe that your partner comes first, because if you don't have a good foundation with your partner, then the kids are going to suffer. So let me know what you think in the chat. You think that your partner comes first, or you think that your kids take priority? Because I'm lost on this one. A lot of mixed reviews, and I don't really know how I should feel about it. Same here. Rachel says, same here. But at the end of the day, your kids are going to be there, and you will see how they treat the significant other when they are older by the way they see you treat their other parent. Absolutely. I feel like, me as a man and having little daughters, that I have to be the standard to my little girls to show how a man treats a woman, right? Like if they see daddy kissing and hugging mommy, smacking her ass, being playful, then my kids are gonna, want that kind of love, and they're not gonna settle for a man that shits on them or a man that treats them shitty. So me as a man and a father of two little girls, I feel like that I set that standard, right? And like that's why I show my little girls unconditional love. I kiss them, I hug them, I'm affectionate, I'm always there for them, because I feel like I have to set that precedent, right? Now, 100%, I believe that your kids watch, and they observe. They're little and you don't think they don't know any better. They watch how mommy and daddy treat each other, because I've done that. Good things that I've done in my relationships, I took from watching my father interact with my mother. The bad things that I took in my relationship were watching my father interact with my mother. So like, there's pros and cons to it. I learned some good things. I picked up some shitty fucking habits, but like at the end of the day, we all learn from our mistakes. So now let's see. Joseph Ferrante, shout out Joseph. Shout out Joseph, what's going on? Rachel says, if you're in a relationship that is not doing good, then the best bet would be to leave, because they will watch every step of the way. 100%. Now, if your kids see that mommy's unhappy, or if your kids see that daddy treats mommy like crap, and we can't even just say that, because there's women that treat men like shit in relationships. 100%. So let's not just say that there's men out there that treat the women shitty, because there's women that treat men really shitty, always yelling, always nagging, never appreciative, never, respectful. And respect is huge when it comes down to a relationship, right? So let's see. Rachel says, my kids have watched my soon-to-be ex-husband almost unalive me while pregnant, and they still remember it. Of course, that's going to be something that's always going to be in the back of their mind. And, they can learn from it, or they can, they can learn both ways. They can bring it into theirs, or, be like, I'm never going to live like that. So, I understand it's a shitty situation, because you don't want your kids to see that, and you don't want your kids to pick up those bad habits. Now, like I said, it could go both ways, right? You don't want your kids, as a woman, you don't want your kids to see how they treat a man, like in a crappy way, because then that's how your girls are going to treat their husband, or treat a man forever, or they'll never trust the man. And if you have boys and they see that daddy is crappy to mommy, then that can go both ways as well, because then they could be like, all right, I'm never going to treat a woman that way, or this is how you're supposed to treat a woman. So, it goes both ways like that. And like, I don't know. I feel like, for me, being a dad and having little girls, that I am that standard. I am that standard of like how they should be treated. And I feel like my daughters are never going to fall for just a man calling them pretty, They're going to say, my daddy called me pretty my whole life. My daddy told me that I was beautiful every day. My daddy treated me like a princess, and that's the only way I'm going to be treated. So, it could really go both ways. So now, as far as that goes, the question of the day, who comes first? Your partner or your kids? I don't know. That's a hard one. To me, my final answer is the kids come first, but you still got to prioritize your partner. You know, like there's different levels. Maybe no one comes first. Maybe everybody gets the same priority. You know, I've had women tell me like because I had kids that they wouldn't date me because they know that my kids are always going to come first, and they can't handle that they're not going to be coming first. So, and then I've had women that I've dated that have kids, and they're completely understanding, and even in their life with their kids come first, and I'm cool with that. Like I'm always going to know that the kids are always going to come first to a woman who has kids. So I don't ever hold that against them. I treated him like shit. I did everything for him. I never treated him like shit. I did everything for him, whether he was home or not. I mean, you know, it's also how you're raised too. I remember I had a woman tell me the other day, and she said that, you know, she's having a hard time being sexually active, and she hasn't had sex in almost a year because her past relationship with the kid's father was a very violent one, and like he would forcibly like be intimate with her. And you know, now that they're split and they haven't been with each other for a while, it's hard for her to engage with a man because she doesn't trust a man ever again. So I understand that, like, you know, certain situations in the past can affect your present and your future, and that's never a good thing. But like, these are just questions I ask because, like I said, I am not a professional by any means in anything that's being spoken about right here, right? Like, I am not a professional whatsoever. And I more ask these questions because I want to get people's perspective on it, change my mind. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, because it also helps me for, you know, the future, what I'm looking for, what I want and what I don't want in a relationship. And it helps me learn about like mistakes that I made, because I always did prioritize the kids. Was I wrong for that? Was I wrong for prioritizing my kids over my partner? You know, was that the demise of my marriage? You know, was that the demise of relationships with others because I prioritized the kids over, you know, my partner? So I'm just trying to get feelers out. Like, let me know in the comments, you know, how you feel about it. Does your partner come first, or or your kids come first? And a majority of the people that I spoke to, you know, the kids came first. But there are some people that say, no, your partner comes first. You know, and I was speaking to somebody else, you know, maybe a couple of weeks ago before I even asked this question. And I kind of got the idea about it. Like, they're married, they have kids, you know, their relationship was getting a little rocky. The husband felt like he wasn't being prioritized because she was very active in the kid's life and like very about the kids. And he said, like, you know, you need to prioritize me. I'm your husband. You know, before the kids, it was me and you. And after the kids, it's going to be me and you. So we need to have that strong foundation. So, you know, like, and she understood. She was like, you know what, you're right. Maybe I do need to prioritize my husband a little bit. So maybe not like anybody comes before the other, but definitely like you got to put it on the same playing field. But if you're getting like abused and it's a shitty relationship, then obviously you know your kids are going to come first, because you're going to be like, this guy's a piece of shit to me, or this girl's a piece of shit to me, and I'm not going to stand for it and prioritize this scumbag. You know, I get it. I get that. And other questions. Let's see. I got another question for you. And I posted this question, I think yesterday, maybe today. Another question, right? If you're a woman and a man cheats on you, do you take him back or do you kick him to the curb? And vice versa. If you're a man and a woman cheats on you, do you take her back or do you kick her to the curb? Like, I don't know. Tell me what you think. Because I know how I feel about it. I know how I feel about it. You know, there's women that I know that have been cheated on. They know they've been cheated on, and they were able to heal from it and move on and start fresh and start a fresh, you know, relationship. And I know men that were cheated on that took a woman back and they were able to move on. Me personally, I don't know if I could do that. I feel like as a man, when you're married and you have a wife, not that you're my property, but like the sanctity of marriage to me is so important. Like the way that I grew up, marriage was so important to me that like you don't cross that threshold of cheating, you know? Let's see, Rachel says it's true, but it needs to be 50-50. I think especially if you have kids, if the female is the stay-at-home mom, as with the kids 24/7, then the man is home, he needs to help with the kids. 100%. Listen, in my relationship, I did the grocery shopping to, take things off of her plate. I did my own laundry. I did my own work clothes because my work clothes were separate from my regular clothes. So I did those. I handled that. I did the grocery shopping. When I was off, I would barbecue, grill steak, and stuff like that, and help with like dinner and stuff like that. I'm not the best cleaner in the world, but like, A for fucking effort over here. I tried, but I could cook. I'm not the best cook, but I can fucking cook. I can mash it up a little bit. But like, I always tried to help, even with the kids. Like, I had flip-flop schedules where like I had them during the day, she had them at night. This way, we didn't have to worry about childcare. And I'm very active in my kid's life, and that's how I always did it. So, the 50-50 thing, like being at home, I get it. Everybody has to help out. Everyone has to help each other out. And, even though my kids came first, I still, there was little things that I did to show appreciation and like try to, relieve some stress or some things for her to do. And maybe she didn't see it that way, but by me doing my own laundry and not her not having to worry about extra laundry like that, or me, going grocery shopping, I figured it was like taking some things off her plate, and that's how I did it, But back to the cheating question, because I want to get men and women's perspective on the cheating question, because I know how I feel about it. So if you're a woman and a man cheats on you, are you willing to take that man back? Can that marriage or that relationship be saved? So let's see. Rachel says, my soon-to-be ex-husband thought that no matter what the female has to, whatever the female has to cook, clean, and do absolutely everything all the time, I was so overwhelmed and stressed and didn't have time to be by myself. What do I consider cheating? Okay. So, I mean, Rachel, if you're at home, if you're a stay-at-home mom, my opinion on this, and don't hate me, I'm sure I'm going to get some shit for this. If you're a stay-at-home mom and I'm at work and I'm providing, then your job is to cook, clean, and take care of the kids. And my job is to pay the bills. I'll still help out. I'm not saying that you have to do everything by yourself. I'll still help out. That, obviously I'm going to do the chores that are around the house. I'm going to take out the garbage. I'm going to mow the lawn. I'm going to clean out the gutters. I'm going to shovel the driveway. I'm going to do those kind of things. And so I get it what you're saying. That's, the gender roles are different in this world. I don't know how people feel about gender roles anymore. We live in a weird world. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, then yeah, I think, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the kids is your career path. And my job is to pay the bills and do all like the heavy lifting. But so you want to know what I consider cheating. All right. Well, clearly any kind of like physical intimacy is going to be cheating, right? Kissing is cheating, right? That's physical intimacy. Then there's emotional cheating. Like, I know that as a woman, if I'm dating you, you don't want me to be messaging other girls or talking to other girls or chatting with other girls behind your back. That's going to be cheating. That's going to be emotionally cheating. And as a man, I don't want my girl talking to other men behind my back, chit-chatting with them and stuff like that. No way. That's cheating to me. I mean, if if you have a job and there's guys that work there and they're like flirting with you and stuff like that, and you're engaging with them, then you're part of the problem too. Once they start flirting with you, you got to shoot them down and be like, yo, I'm married. Like, sorry, bro, I'm married. Like, my husband's not going to appreciate you doing that. But I'm also old school. When I'm in a relationship and I have a woman, that's it. It's me and my woman. Like, girls that hit on me, I'm like, nah, I'm with somebody, I'm sorry. Like, because I don't want it done to me. That shit fucking hurts. I never cheated because of the fact that, like, I didn't want it done to me. And if I'm with you and you're my girl, then I really have strong feelings for you. Because for me to be with you, then I have strong feelings for you. And I'm not gonna be looking for anybody else. So that's, everyone has different terms of cheating, but like, that's the thing about social media, though. Social media makes it so hard to it's so easy to cheat. So easy. Cheating can even be you're liking my pictures and I'm liking yours. Like, that could be cheating. That could be considered cheating, emotional cheating. Like, why are you liking this man's shirtless picture? Why are you liking this picture of this girl shaking her ass on fucking Instagram? That could be cheating. So, like, I understand. I'm talking about cheating as far as, like, you had physical intimacy with another man. Now, me personally, once you're intimate with another man and you're my girl or you're my wife, that's it. You're tainted. That's it. Like, I can't take you back, because you know what? It's not gonna resonate well with me. I'm gonna, really think about it all the time, and I'll never trust you again. I'll never trust you again. And that's just me being honest. Like, that minute, that time that you're home late from work, my mind's going to start going crazy. And I don't want to live like that. Trust is so huge in a relationship, right? And, like, let's be real. If you cheat on me, right, and I do take you back, I'm never going to trust you. I'm going to constantly question things. Everyone's going to be walking on eggshells. And not to mention, you're not going to trust me either, because you're going to think that I'm going to go out and cheat on you to spite you or to get even. And some people are vindictive like that and try to do that, and they want to, retaliate. So you're not going to trust me, and I'm not going to trust you. And then that's the demise of our relationship. And so, me personally, as a man, like, I am not able to take you back. Once you cheat on me and I know there's been another man inside of you, that's it. I'm done. Like, you're tainted to me. So I know a lot of men that feel that way. Any men that are watching in the chats, tell me if you feel that way. Ladies, tell me how you feel about it. Are you willing to take that man back? If you know that man has been with another woman physically, are you willing to take him back? And is your marriage or your relationship ever going to be the same? Because I know of women, I watched this thing with this guy, and I guess he was like a divorce therapist or whatever. And he said that when a man cheats, he doesn't do it because of, emotional reasons. He does it because a man is like a sexual being, and sometimes they just do it for pleasure. And no one's saying that it's right? No one's saying that it's right to go out and cheat, even if it's for pleasure and it's not about, emotion. But they say that when a woman cheats, she's thought about it multiple times, and it became an emotional thing for her, and that she has an emotional connection with the person that she's cheating on you with. And that cuts deeper than anything else. Because for a man, you could say, oh, he's just a fucking horny guy that will stick his, wee-wee in anything. But for a woman, that was that emotional connection, that emotional bond that made her, step out on that relationship or that marriage, right? So, it really all depends. Me personally, as a man, once I'm cheated on, that's it. There's no going back. I'll never trust you. That relationship is destroyed. And there's no going back for me. So, but the cases of women taking them back are, happen more because the same thing that I was watching, this divorce therapist or whatever he was, marriage therapist, was saying that, like, when a woman cheats on a man, the first thing that the man asks is, did you sleep with him, right? Did you have sex with him? Because we just want to know if you were physically intimate with that person. When a man cheats on a woman, the woman's first question to the men is, do you love her? What's going on, Martin? How you doing? Join the conversation. We're talking over here. The question of the day: if a woman cheats on you, are you able to take her back, Martin? If a woman cheats on you, are you taking her back, or is that relationship done? You kicking her to the curb, right? Rachel says she took people back. She's taken her husband back multiple times, and more power to you. If you're able to do that, that's huge. Some people can't do that. I can't do that. I can't take someone back after they cheated on me. It's like you broke my heart and you stabbed it 50,000 times after that. So that was another one of the questions that I threw out there, right? And I got questions that go for days, right? Like, another question that I could throw out to you is, does jealousy and insecurity ruin relationships on both aspects? Because there could be an insecure man, a jealous man, and there could be an insecure, jealous woman. So how do you feel about it? Does jealousy destroy relationships? I know what I think about it 100%, because I've been with jealous, insecure women, and it's hard. But my man Martin says, no, I don't think I could do that. And Martin, I agree, because I can't, as a man, once you cheated on me and another man has been intimate with you, that's it. It's over for me. So, because I'm kind of jealous in that way, where like you're mine and you're mine only. And, no one's allowed to touch. So Rita said it was hard taking him back, but I did it because of my kids. It was never the same after you cheated on me. Of course, it's never going to be the same. No relationship is going to ever be the same if there's infidelity involved in that relationship, because the trust is gone, right? And me as a man, that I know that if I did get back with a woman after she cheated on me, my mind is going to be running a mile a minute. I'm going to constantly be thinking about if that woman is still cheating on me. Like, you did it once, you're going to do it again. You know what I'm saying? So Rachel says it was hard taking him back, and I bet it was really hard. The things that you do for your children, and that's like something that goes back to prioritizing your kids over your partner. Like, you'll make a lot of decisions for your kids. Let me tell you, not even just like decisions in relationship wise, like life decisions. I remember I got offered an awesome job, and I turned down that job because it was a mandatory move to another state, and me and my child's mom weren't together. So I want to leave my child behind and move 3,000 miles away from my kid for this job. But it was a great job, very prestigious, a lot of money involved, great benefits. And I turned that job down because I didn't want to leave my kid behind, because me and the kid's mom weren't together. So, you do things like that. You prioritize your kids, and you sacrifice for your kids. And that can go back to, who gets prioritized in your relationship, your partner or your kids. And at that point, I prioritize my kids. I sacrifice my kids, and I try to do everything for my kids. But I have questions of the day, 4 days, legit. Like, I got a list of it. So if you have something that you want me to ask, I'll give you a shout out, right? In my little shorts video, I'll give you a shout out. Question of the day is for so-and-so, and we can get other people's perspectives on it, right? Let's see. Rachel says, I thought staying with him would be good for our kids, but in reality, it's hurt our kids and it's hurt me. Yeah, I mean, staying together for the kids. I asked that question, actually. That was one of my first questions of the day. One of my first questions of the day was, should you stay together for the kids, or does it make things worse? Or does it, destroy your kids? And I don't know. I had mixed feelings about that. And a lot of people had mixed feelings about it as well. A lot of people said no. A lot of people that were children of divorce said that staying together for the kids was like no good. That they saw their parents fight and they couldn't wait for their parents to split. I had a friend who is a child of divorce who told me that his parents were fighting all the time, nonstop fighting all the time, and that he could not wait for the day to come until they separated, because it was just miserable every day watching his parents fight, and they stayed together for him. And then when he got older, he told them straight up, like, you guys staying together for me was the worst thing that you could possibly do, because you destroyed me. You just showed me a toxic relationship, you know? And another question of the day, straight up, some people love toxic relationships. Some people fucking love it. Like, it keeps it exciting. It keeps it, real. So I know people that stay in toxic relationships because they love that chaos. They love that chaos. I'm not gonna lie. A little toxicity isn't too bad. A little toxicity could be fun, but it gets old quick. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a sucker for like a toxic Latina, but it's not good. It's not good to be in a toxic relationship, but people, enjoy it. Some people, answer in the chat right now. Is some toxicity good for your relationship, or is it just a major red flag? Let me know in the comments, in the chats, if you think that, some toxicity is good or bad for your relationship. Is fighting, good or bad for your relationship, right? Because if you're in a relationship where you guys never fight, never argue, are you really communicating? Are you in a healthy relationship? Or is everyone just bottling up their emotions? If you really think about it, right? You don't want to be with someone that all you do is fight all the time. But at the same time, if you're never fighting and everything's just all hunky-dory all the time, is that healthy? Or is everybody just bottling up their emotions? So, let's see. Rachel says, it's the only thing I knew, but since losing my friend, my kids to the state, and having time to reflect has been the worst thing I could do. Yeah, staying together for the kids never works out, I feel like, And like I said, you got to be that example for your kids to show them what healthy love is. And I said this in like one of my first videos, like, mommy and daddy should be like playful with each other. You ever see those couples on like Instagram reels and TikTok reels where they're like shooting Nerf guns at each other, like, pranking each other and doing like funny things with each other? Like, I always wanted that. I think that's like so healthy and so fun. And like, that's what I strive to have, is like a relationship where we could prank each other, mess with each other. And, my kids should see me smacking mommy on the butt, kissing her up, wrapping my hands around her. My kid should be saying, ew, that's gross. Get a room. Like, your kid should be seeing that. So, like, because they need to be a part of that healthy love, they need that, because at the end of the day, if they're not seeing that, they're not going to know how to love themselves, and like, they're not going to be put in healthy situations. So, I have a question of the day that is exactly that. I'm going to ask it soon. I got to make the video for it, but it's like, does laughing and pranking with your partner make your relationship stronger? I think so. I think that if we're laughing and we're joking around and we're pranking each other, like, we should. We should be pranking each other. We should be laughing with each other. That's going to be healthy. Hey, what's going on, Will? That's what we should be doing. Like, pranking with each other, laughing with each other, having a good time. And that's going to make us healthy, and that's going to make it stronger and fun, And I got another question. Should you and your partner, like, is it a red flag if your partner doesn't have any hobbies and doesn't have any friends? Like, because I felt like in my past relationships, when I had all these hobbies, right? Like, I have hobbies of like, I like to go shooting and riding motorcycles, right? So I had all these hobbies, and like, my partner didn't have a lot of hobbies. And I felt like, because I had all these hobbies and she didn't, it caused a lot of like separation in our relationship, because like, I always had stuff to do, you know? I always had stuff to do and she didn't, and like she was very like needy at that point where she needed to be with me all the time, and I'd be like, you need to get, I can't be with you all the time. Like I got stuff to do, and so is that something that's an issue? Like being needy and being with each other all the time, does that make things worse too? I don't know. Like I said, I started this channel because like it wasn't because I was like, I am the know all be all and I am a professional at all of this. Like I am not a professional at all. A lot of this stuff is me just bouncing off stuff with you because like I go through a hard time all the time. Like divorce is not easy. And I said it, 2 years have been going down already and nothing has gotten done. I spoke to a lady the other day that her divorce has been going on since 2017. 2017, she said, and nothing has happened in her divorce. It's just a bunch of court dates back and forth, back and forth. So, I'm going through a difficult situation. And even though I'm in a better place than I was when it first happened, I started this channel because, like, this is not me trying to give advice to anybody. This is me trying to take advice from people or seeing, people in the same position as me, what they're doing to get through it. And like I just do the best I can to get through it. Like hobbies is so huge. And I say it all the time, like mental health is gonna be your number one. Like this is what's gonna get you through it because you gotta be good so that you can be good for others. And like, if you just stay in a dark place, you're not gonna get through this, fast and easy. But if you really, work hard at making yourself happy, like you're gonna find yourself in a better place. And like hobbies is so huge to me because I know that when I was first going through it, I stopped doing all my hobbies. Like I couldn't even find the energy to do anything. I could not find the energy to do anything. I was so miserable. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I didn't want to play with my motorcycles. I didn't want to go shoot my guns. I didn't want to tinker on stuff in the garage or like fix things and stuff. And I kind of just like let myself go for a little bit. And then, you know, after a little bit of time has passed, and I put like the footwork in to like make myself better, the best that I could, then I really got into my hobbies again, and I tried to get through it. Hobbies was huge for me. You got to find things to do. I'm telling you, like at one point, I would do like 20-minute walks by myself every night. I would get home in the front door. It'd be like 8:30 at night. It'd be like 8:30 at night. I'd drop off all my stuff. I'd put like a timer on my phone, and I would literally go for a walk around the block for 20 minutes. And I told you, I got that from a Navy SEAL. He was saying how like 20-minute walks are very important, and a 20-minute walk, a 20-minute like mental health walk would be good for you. So that's what I did. I freaking went for a walk every night for 20 minutes to clear my head, to get myself out of my out of my head and like out of a stressful situation. So like if you gotta go walk for 20 minutes just to make yourself feel better, then do it. I'm telling you, it's gonna benefit you. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna be in a better place. Because when everyone's going through a hard time, you gotta find something to get yourself out of it. But yeah, so let's keep talking about these questions of the day now, right? How important is it for now say you start dating again, right? You got a new, you got kids, you start dating again, you're divorced, or you just separated, or say you were never married and you guys just broke up and went your own ways, right? Then you start dating again. At what point in time is a good time frame to introduce your kids to your new partner? Think about that. I really want that to stew inside your head real quick. At what time is it okay to start introducing your new boyfriend or girlfriend to your kids? Is there a time frame on that? 6 months, a year of serious dating? When do you do it? Because I know, like, people that introduce their kids right away. I know people that wait a little bit. Like, can it have an effect on your children? Absolutely. You know, like I feel like if they just saw mommy and daddy kissing and sleeping together, and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, you know, they're meeting someone new, and they're like, well, who the fuck is this person? That's not going to be beneficial for anybody. You know, like, whoa, what just happened here? So, you know, let me know what you think in the chats. You know, what's a good time frame? See, Rachel says, I think it all depends on how well you and the person you're seeing get along. Yeah, how serious it is. I don't know though, because you know, you can start dating somebody right away and be like, oh wow, like this is the person right here. You know, this is the person. Like I can't see myself without this person. And then like 2 months goes by and you're like, damn, what the fuck did I do? I just jumped into something that I shouldn't have. You know, so it really all depends. You know. But like that's a question I ask, and I really try to pick people's brains with these questions, and it's so funny because then like I posted like a whole bunch of videos. I asked all these questions of the day, serious content where I want to get people's thoughts on things, and you know sometimes people just don't give a fuck. But then I post dumb stuff and people like it, so you know I'm just like trying to get people's you know perspective on certain things. Now, what about this? My ex-fiance had a son, and I got introduced to the son the first day I met my ex-fiance, and it was all bad because then 8 months later we broke up. Yeah, exactly. It could go all bad. Now, I have a question for you guys, and I want to get your take on it. I already know how I feel about it. So, you know, let's see if I'm just fucking crazy. You know, am I wrong or am I right? So now, say you split up, you're divorced, you're separated, you're in a breakup, whatever it is, and you have kids involved. Should your kids be calling your ex's new partner mommy or daddy? Right? Think about that. Should your ex's new partner be called mommy or daddy by your kids? Hell fucking no. No way. That is a big no no. Now, like, let me tell you something. If you're in your kid's life, you're in your kid's life and you're a good father or a good mother, nobody else should be calling mommy or daddy. You are the one and only. My ex's fiance's son started calling me mom within a month of knowing him. See, that's fucking crazy. And you broke up 8 months later. But let me ask you, Rachel, was that his ex, like, was his mother in his life? Because that could change the dynamic of things, right? Now, if I'm dating a woman who has a kid, right? And I'm dating for a serious amount of time. We got engaged and now we're married and we're living each other. And like a couple years down the road, their parent is not, that father is not in their life and they want to call me daddy because I'm the only father figure. Then I understand that. That's perfectly understandable. If that parent's not in their life, if that parent's not in their life and you're raising them and they want to call you mommy and daddy, let's see, Rachel says it would all depend on if the biological parents are in the child's life. Yes, the child's mother was in the picture. Oh, see, that's crazy, Rachel. And I don't know what you did with that. I couldn't be comfortable with that. I would be like, hey, listen, you know, I know that you love me and I know that, you know, you have a mommy or you have a daddy and I don't want to hurt their feelings, but I don't think it's okay. I could be a father figure to you, but it's not right if you call me daddy because you have a daddy and I don't want to step on daddy's toes. But you can give me another term of endearment. Like if you want to call me Fifi or, you know, whatever, some kind of term of endearment, I'll take that. But like if I'm with a woman who has a kid and that father is an active parent in their life, active father, loves them, sees them all the time, then I'm not stepping on any toes and nobody's calling me daddy because I can't do that. You know, that's like a no-go. And I've known situations like that where like I don't think that it should be happening. You know, everyone's different. Everyone's different, and this is why I ask these questions, because I really want to get everybody's perspective on these questions. Because, like I said, you know, there might be things that I'm cool with that you're not cool with. There might be things that, you know, you're not cool with that I find no problem with. You know, like back to the cheating question. If you can, if your partner cheats on you, could you get back with them? Some of you might be cool with that. Like, yeah, I could get back with him. It's not a problem. You know, we're gonna rebuild. You know, maybe we were slipping up and we lost touch of, like, you know, our love for each other. But I can't. So, like, I'm not cool with that. And then maybe, you know, I'm cool with, you know, another situation. You're like, whoa, like, I'm not cool with that. And that's fine. We can have, you know, different, you know, perspectives and different opinions on things. And that's how I want it to be. I wanted to open up a platform, get a conversation going. Because I know a lot of people don't want to comment because they're afraid to stir the pot. But, you know, fuck it. Who cares? This is the internet. Who cares if we stir the pot? You're never even going to see half these people that are talking shit or that don't agree or do agree. You're never going to see them. So who cares what you say? I don't give a fuck. I'm sure there's a lot of people that hate on things that I say, and I don't care. Like I said, I just want to chill. I want to bullshit. I smoke my cigarettes. I drink my energy drink, and we bullshit on this topic, right? Rachel says, I told him he would have to ask his mom if she was okay with him calling me mom. I told him if he wanted to call me mom, he could say Mama Rachel, but not just mom or mommy. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's your, you know, that's how you do it. And that's fine. Like I said, we can agree, disagree on things. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong and that I'm right. I just have a different perspective on things. Like, you know, I had a situation where my ex had a child before me. Her father wasn't in the picture. He was a piece of crap, nowhere to be found. But I raised her since she was like 2, 3 years old. And she started calling me daddy. And that was okay, because this poor girl didn't have her daddy. And I had to step in and become the daddy. So I was okay with it. But that was a different circumstance. The dad wasn't around. The dad wasn't in her life, and I stepped in and I raised her. You know, I put a roof over her head. I put food in her belly, and I took care of her. So that was a different circumstance. But if that parent is an active parental figure in their life and they're doing what they gotta do, then I'm not stepping on any toes, because I want anybody to step on my toes. You know, like, I was watching a video on Instagram before, and this guy went to go pick up his kid. I guess it was his parenting time. He went to go pick up his kid from his ex's house, and the ex's new husband or whatever, new boyfriend, I don't know the circumstances of their relationship, was out front and was like, and he's like, hey, is, you know, Timmy home, whatever? And the new husband sitting out there, arms crossed. No, he's not. And he's like, but it's my day with my child. I'm trying to pick my child. No, you can't see your child. I'm like, what? What? Fall back, motherfucker. That's my kid. Who you stopping right now? I don't get it, man. You know, you got to know when it's your place and it's not your place, and when you're stepping on toes and when you're crossing boundaries. Now, that's why I feel bad for some dads, you know, because some dads are just good dads trying to be in their kid's life, and they get fucked over the most. Because let's be real, in the society that we live, it's more likely that the father's going to get fucked over than the mother. And that's just how it is, because our lives are, you know, the laws haven't caught up with society, right? The laws haven't caught up with society, so, like, the men get fucked over more than the women do, right? See, Rachel says, both my step parents, I just call them by their name, and they are good with that. Listen, you can have, you know, a term of endearment. It doesn't have to be mommy, daddy, and so black and white like that. Give me a term of endearment. You want to call me Fifi, Cece, Mimi, whatever, Didi, you know. But I'm just saying, like, you know, parenting is hard. Parenting is definitely hard, man. And This life is hard, and and stuff like that doesn't make it any easier, because I understand where you were, Rachel. You wanted this kid to feel loved and feel part of the family. So you were willing to accept that and allow it to happen. And that's why I said I'll never sit here and tell you that you're wrong or right, because you did what you thought was best at that time and you just wanted this kid to feel a part of, and you probably did. I might have handled it a little different, I don't know. But I try to I try to get everyone's perspective about it. Was I bugging out about this? Right? Like I'm like hell bent over like my kid should not be calling another man daddy. Not happening. I am the one and only daddy, right? Ain't happening. I don't want my kids calling anybody else daddy. Especially the kind of dad that I am, where I'm like so active in my kids' life and I see them all the time and I provide everything for them. No way are they calling another man daddy. It's not fucking happening, you know? So that's where I stand on it. But, I have a lot of questions of the day. I have silly ones, I have funny ones, I have, serious ones. I put one out there for the men, you like a girl with big boobies or big booty. I put one out for the ladies. You like a length or you like girth? Like, I gotta, keep people engaged as well. So, some might be a little inappropriate. I put out a question: does bad sex ruin relationships? Absolutely, right? Like you can, be so attracted to a person, want to be with them, and you guys have sex, and then the sex is horrible, and then you're like, what the fuck? Like I love you, and you're hot, but this sex was whack, right? Like I'm sure ladies that are watching this channel, you've been physically attracted to a man, emotionally attracted to a man, sexually attracted to a man, and then when you got in the bedroom, it wasn't up to par where you were at in that situation. You know, I'm sure that's happened. And men who are watching this, I'm sure that you saw a girl and you were like, "Wow, this girl's beautiful. She's a dime. I'm physically attracted to her, emotionally attracted to her, sexually attracted to her." And then when you got in the bedroom, you were like, wow, this was not up to par either. So that's why I ask these questions. Question of the day: does bad sex ruin relationships? Absolutely. Shitty sex can ruin a relationship. You can have a good conversation, a good personality, but then when you get in the bedroom, it changes everything. You know, let me know what you think in the comments, in the chat. If you ever been so attracted to somebody and then when you got into the bedroom, it wasn't up to par and that changed and affected your relationship. I also asked other questions of the question of the day. Let's see. Rachel said the thing about my kids would be that since the father wouldn't be in their life, that I would allow them to call the person I'm seeing dad once it got serious enough for them to call them dad. Yeah, maybe after you guys got married again. I don't know, but from what you tell me that like, he loves his kids and he wants to be in his kid's life. So you got to really be careful what you do in that, because let me tell you something. I don't know how Arizona is, but in New York, parental alienation is a big thing and it's called parental substitution. So if you substitute your kid's father with another man and he's actively in those kids' life trying to have like a relationship with them and you substitute him, you could be held liable for that. So like you got to be careful and you got to know the laws too. And like especially if he's like active in their life and wants to be in their life. And if he's fighting to be in his life, listen, let me tell you something, Rachel. And you might get a little annoyed about what I'm gonna say, but like as far as you and your ex-husband go, like you didn't work out. You had a shitty relationship. You guys didn't work out. It wasn't the best relationship that you had. But what happened between you and him should not affect the relationship between him and his kids. Were you saying he doesn't love and care for his kids? He was never home and he never checked on them. All right, well, whatever. I understand. I would just keep that door open for them, though. Realistically, keep the door open for them to see their father. And so you don't want them hating on you either. You don't want them to resent you later in life, like, oh, you kicked my father out of my life, and stuff like that. Let them know that the door is open for your father to come back and be a part of their lives, because you don't want to close that door on him forever and have your kids resent you for that, you know? So, you know, you got to be careful. You know, I get these questions of the day going, man, and that's why I ask for help with some questions of the day. Like, if you guys have a question of the day that you want me to ask, I'll give you a shout out. We can put it out there. You know, the question of the day today goes out to Rachel from Arizona. You know, how long, should you wait until you get, married? How long should you wait until you get intimate? How long should you, whatever your question of the day is, give me a topic that I could shoot out there and we get people's perspectives on it, because let me tell you something. Everybody has a different perspective about everything. That's why opinions are so great. They're like assholes, they say, right? Everybody has one. Opinions are great, right? Now, I might think that having sex with someone right away is needed and is something that needs to be done, because I think that bad sex can ruin a relationship. What's going on, Alex? How long did it take you to get that beard? Yo, Alex, I grow hair so quick, bro. I could grow a foot. Let me tell you, I just trimmed it like 2 days ago. It was like out to here on both sides. You can see I trimmed it because I think I took it too short right here. I got a little bald spot right here. I just trimmed that like a couple of days. Well, I trimmed right here this morning, and I just noticed the bald spot. And I have another bald spot over here somewhere. I trimmed it too low in certain areas. But I grow hair so quick that this beard will be up and going in like 3 to 4 days. 3 days from now, I can be doing another live, and this bald spot right here will be gone. So, what I'm saying, I smoke too much, man. But you know what? I smoke too much because when I was going through a hard time, all I would do is like just pace around and smoke, because I was in such a bad place that I just didn't know what to do with myself. And then now I smoke too much because of that. And but what I'm saying is, like, everybody has a different, let's see. He has other kids from previous females. He has not been in any of their lives. He has an 11-year-old that he's never seen or helped take care of. I mean, listen, not everyone is built for fatherhood, but that should have been your red flag, Rachel. I'm going to call you out. I'm going to call you out on that. I'm not here to sugarcoat things, right? Because I know, for me at least, that anybody that has ever sugarcoated shit for me, it wasn't there to help me out, right? I always say this. A real friend is going to tell you to wash your face so when you got dirt on it. A real friend is going to tell you when you're not doing something that's smart, right? Right? I always push that narrative that no one ever wants you to be better than them, right? No one is going to, tell you to do this so that you look better than them, right? I always push that. So I'm going to be your friend on this one. I'm going to tell you that what you just said should have been your red flag. I didn't know about the child until after we already started having kids. So, all right, well, I mean, that's a fucking red flag on him that he didn't even put that out there. And like, that goes back to a question of the day I think I asked yesterday. I asked that question yesterday. Does secrets destroy relationships? If you have a secret between you and your partner, does that destroy your relationships? And absolutely. And I think that's a big secret to keep, that you have a kid with somebody else. Like, I'm pretty much 100% honest with everybody, like, right off the bat, about my past, about things that are going on in my life, even like dating now, at like during this whole divorce process. Like, I always let everybody know right off the bat, I'm going through a divorce. I'm not 100%. I might not love her or want to be with her, but I'm not 100% healed from the situation, because it's still going on and I'm still dealing with bullshit from it. And whenever I get in a good place, some bullshit happens that kind of like brings me a couple of steps back. So secrets can destroy a relationship. I'm pretty honest with everybody right off the bat about like what happened in my life. And but I was just saying that should have been your red flag. And you gotta know who you're dealing with, right? And that's what I'm saying. A lot of the questions of the day that I have, a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people can understand. Like, You know, I have a question of the day. Kid you not, Rachel. I have it in my little like notepad because I have like a list of questions of the day. And one of my questions of the day, and I'll release it this week, right? And I'll even shout you out on it, right? It's is it a red flag if that man doesn't see his kids? Right? If you're dating someone that has kids and you notice that he's never with his kids, that should be a red flag to you. Like maybe I shouldn't want to have kids with this guy. I mean, there might be a legit reason for it, right? Maybe the baby mama makes it a little bit harder for him as a struggle, or like they moved out of state and whatever. But like, that could be a big red flag, right? And that's what I'm saying. I have tons of questions of the day that I think a lot of people will enjoy, and I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of this stuff is like, stuff that everybody has it going on in their lives, right? Like, like, should you live with should you be living with that person before you marry him? 100%. I know relationships that were so great and they so loving and so caring, and then as soon as they lived with each other, that relationship was destroyed, man. Because you start seeing real people's true selves when you live with them, right? Even and that goes for men and women, right? You could be a man, and now you live with this woman. You realize that this woman's a slob, clothes hanging all over the place, all over the floor, disorganized. And some men are very organized. Like me, I'm very organized. Like I said, I'm not the best cleaner, but I'm organized. Like I have everything in order. Like especially like in my garage where I have like my tools set up. I have like all my metric tools set up. I have all my standard tools set up. My screwdrivers are in one drawer. My flathead screwdrivers are in one drawer. My sockets are, metric set up one way, standard set up one day. Like I have everything organized. So I can love this girl, think she's the most beautiful girl in the world. I have a great relationship with her. And then all of a sudden we live together and this girl is like a slob. That's going to throw me off. I'm like, damn, personal hygiene, personal hygiene is huge. How many times does this person shower? And you'll start noticing that when you live with a person too. Like I didn't see them shower today. That could be a big problem. Let's see. I didn't know about the Jones kids. Yes, Rachel says yes, but what happens if you know nothing about him having the kids from the previous relationship? That's what I'm saying. The fact that you didn't know anything about these kids is crazy, like, and shame on him. Shame on him for not putting it all on the table, right? Like, I know that that's something that I put on the table right away. Like, but I love my kids. Like, I say it all the time. That's one thing that no one can take away from me. I'm a good dad and I love my kids. And I want to be in my kids' life. And like I try to be a part of everything. And no one can take that away from me. Even my exes can't even talk shit on that. They can't even say, oh, he's a shitty dad, because I might have been a shitty husband, but I'm definitely not a shitty dad. And that's something that I put on the table. And anybody that I ever dated would know that, because remember, I had a kid prior, right? And then there was like, I didn't meet my wife until like my oldest kid was like 3 years old. So in that time frame, I was dating and stuff like that. And everybody knew I had a kid. Like every girl that I dated knew I had a kid at that point. And then after my separation, everybody that I dated in between that time frame all knew that I had kids. They knew my situation. They knew I was going through a divorce. If anything, they knew a lot about my situation because I put a lot of it out there because that's the kind of person I am. I'm very honest and upfront. Because the thing is, like, I'm not a liar like that. Now, I might not volunteer certain information right off the bat, but I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to hide it either. Like, so, you said if you didn't know about the kid from the previous relationship, I mean, that's not your fault, right? This guy wasn't being completely honest with you. But let that be a lesson learned. Now when you move on to your next relationship, You know, you're going to tell this person, like, listen, you need to put everything on the table. Have you ever been married? Have you ever been engaged? Do you have any kids? Do you see your kids? Like, you know, as you get older, you know, you got better questions to ask, right? Because when I was dating and I was in my 20s, I wasn't asking, you know, serious questions like that. You know, now that I'm 38, like, I want to know how much debt you have. What's your credit score? You know, how many times have you been married? How many times have you been engaged? How many kids you got? Like, these are questions that I'm going to ask now because it's a different world, and you learn this as you get older. So yeah, yes, I'm going to ask a ton of questions. Yeah, absolutely. And there's got to be questions that you got to ask. Yo, like, I was reading something the other day. You know, I like to go into like rabbit holes, and I read a lot. I'm not like a book reader. Like, I don't like reading books, but like I like reading articles and like reading things on like when I am interested in something, I like to become a master. I want to be a pro. And like you should be a pro in everything that you do. And I'm telling you, and if you put your mind to that you want to be a pro at everything that you do, you're gonna come so far and succeed in everything. You know, I know I got a potty mouth, but I'm a pretty intelligent guy. Like I curse a lot, but that's because I'm like a Brooklyn, you know, a Brooklyn guy, and like and I curse a lot. But like I try not to. I don't curse in my professional life, but like, you know, in my private life I do. And I know I gotta change it, but like I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm gonna tell you, you should be a pro in everything that you do. And I was watching, so I read something the other day that there's so many questions that you should be asking when you date somebody. And it was questions that you wouldn't even think of. Like questions that like you would be like, what? I didn't even think about that. Like, you know, people ask like the regular questions like, oh, do you want kids? You know, and you know, that's a normal question. But did you know that you should be asking like about debt? Like you should be asking your partner like how much debt you in. You have a lot of debt. What's your credits like? Um, you know, if we had kids, how would you want to raise those kids? What is your parenting style? What do you believe in? Like, what do you believe about discipline? And you know, how do you feel about vaccinations? And you know, all that stuff. Because if you're really trying to have a serious like relationship with somebody, where you're gonna be serious about it and you're gonna move on and you're gonna have kids with them, your different parenting styles, your different political beliefs is going to affect your parenting, right? Because now I might be a parent that's like against vaccines and I don't want my kids to be vaccinated. And you might be a parent that's all about it. Now that could cause a lot of issues in your relationship, right? Also, like, remember, if I'm going to marry you or be in a relationship with you, your debt is going to become my debt, right? You having a shitty credit score might affect me if we want to buy a car, if we want to buy a house and stuff like that. So these are questions that you should ask, you know, if you're different religions, right? Like, and not even so much different religions as far as like Muslim, Catholic, or Jewish. Even if you're like Protestant and Lutheran or Christian and Roman Catholic, like, all right, I'm Roman Catholic, you're Christian. How are we going to raise our kids if we had kids together? Right? Like, these are not questions that you really think about, but these are questions that you should ask because Christianity and Catholicism, even though it's all the beliefs of Jesus Christ and stuff like that, there's also different perspectives in it. Like Catholics, we believe in saints, right? Christians don't believe in saints. A Catholic church is like very boring by the book and stuff like that. And a Christian church is like, you know, very fun and exciting. So you got to ask questions like that. Like, what's your credit score is going to be important because now if you're marrying this person and stuff and like that, you want to buy a house one day and they have shitty credit, that can affect you, especially if both of you are having to go, you know, if both of you are going to go on that deed and the title and the mortgage of that house, like both of you have to have decent or good credit. Because now, if my credit score is an 800 and yours is a 580, you're not coming on that fucking title with me, that deed with me, because your credit is not good enough to be put on a mortgage. So there's a lot of things like that you need to ask when you know you're going through when you meet somebody and you first start a relationship. You know, have you ever been married before? Um, Do you have any liens? You know, do you have any lawsuits against you? Like, I know it sounds crazy because these are not questions that you think to ask somebody when you're dating them or you're starting to date them. But like, these are questions that you should ask because these are questions that are going to affect you in your future, right? Like, you know, child support is considered a long term debt. So you could be with someone that makes a lot of money, but they're on child support. And that might affect you when it's time to buy a house because they're going to count that income to debt ratio against you, you know? So, like, I forget, there was like a whole list. I got to find it and I'll talk about it next time I'm on. But there's like a whole list of questions that they say that you should be asking before before you date somebody. And they're questions that you would never think that you should be asking. So, but like my questions of the day kind of questions, these are just things that like I like to throw out there. I want to get a conversation going about it. You know, like I asked the question once, is it a red flag if your partner's phone is always facing down? Think about that, right? Is it a red flag if your partner's phone is always facing down? Now you're dating somebody, and every time you're around them, their phone is facing down with the screen down. Is that a red flag to you? Is that something that you're like, yeah, what the fuck, man? Is this person scared I'm going to see something? They're scared I'm going to see a message, or they're going to scared of, like, is that something that affects a relationship? Is it a red flag? Like, oh, look, their phone is always facing down. They're hiding something. I don't know. You tell me, is that something that I'm overthinking? Is it nothing? No, don't worry about Rachel. This is not, completely, directed at you. I'm trying to get everybody's, perspective on things, and like other people can join in the chat. Is that something that I overthink? Like if I notice that your phone is always facing down, and I think that's a red flag, is that me just overthinking it, or is it a red flag to you also? Right? I don't know. Because you want to have a healthy relationship. Now I also asked this question too, and let me know what you think in the comments. Should you and your partner be sharing locations with each other? Should you and your boyfriend and girlfriend, whoever it is, if you're a girl, you and your boyfriend or whatever, your girlfriend, I know I can't talk, specifics like that. Everyone has a different, gay, lesbian, straight, whatever you are, non-binary. I don't know who's really watching my channel, but like your partner, and that's why I say it in a broad aspect like that, your partner. Should you and your partner be sharing locations, or is that a sign of distrust? Is that a lack of trust? Is that something that should be happening? Like I never even thought about that when I was in relationships. I never asked to share locations because like I always felt like if I had to worry about where you were, then that's a fucking problem. Like that's a fucking problem. And I know people like, which model iPhone do you think you'll live to? Which model iPhone do you think you'll live to? I don't have an iPhone, man. I'm an Android guy, but I'm saying, should you and your partner look at this? I've always placed my phone downwards when I put it down, but have not hit anything for my significant other. They were allowed to look at my phone. And that's why I thought maybe I was overthinking it, Rachel. Because like, am I overthinking it? Or some people don't even think about it. Like maybe you're not even like realizing that you're putting your phone facing down. Maybe it's just you're just putting it down, and whichever way it lands at that moment is, all, a dice roll at that time. Am I overthinking that? Right? Because I notice little things like that. Like I'm very observant when it comes to little things like that. Because I think I'm OCD. Like I think I'm OCD, so I notice things like that. But maybe it's something that I'm overthinking, right? Maybe it's not a big deal that their phone is facing down. Maybe I'm just overthinking. And I can admit sometimes I overthink, you know? So maybe that's my toxic trait, that I overthink shit. I don't know, right? Tell me what you think. I mean, as far as like locations, have you and your partner, Rachel says it all depends. I wouldn't share my location just for them to worry about where I am. I only share my location just to let them know where I am and just in case something bad happens. And Rachel, let me tell you something. You're not the only person that said that. I put this out here. I put this question out there. And like I said, a lot of people are not responding to my comment section on my YouTube videos. But on Instagram, I'm getting a lot of direct messages about it. And like I put that question out there. How do you feel about sharing locations? Should you, or is it a sign of distrust? And a lot of people said it was all about safety. Like they had no problem sharing it, but it's not about tracking location. It was for like safety reasons. But like, I mean, for your kids, it's one thing. For your partner, I mean, I'm 100% accountable for every second of my day. Like my life is kind of like clockwork. Like I said, I'm out of work right now, but like it's usually work, homework, homework, homework. That's my fucking life. I'm with my kids, I'm working. That's my life. And like I'm out of work because, I got hurt. But like I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. I'm accountable for every minute of my day. If you're my girlfriend, you're gonna know where I'm at. If I'm telling you I'm running a Walmart, I'm gonna be at Walmart. Dead serious. If I'm telling you that I'm running to the gas station or 7-Eleven, that's where I'm going. Like I'm 100% accountable for every minute of my day, and there's no need to worry. But some people are very controlling, right? Some people do it for safety reasons. So you're right. It all depends on the circumstances. Me personally, I don't need to share locations. I don't need to know where you are all the time. If I'm not going to ask you to share your location with me, how about that? If you want to, because you're like, yo, you're my man, and I want to share my location with you because I want you to know where I am and to make sure that I'm safe, God forbid, then okay. I'm not gonna, I won't turn it down, but I get it. Everybody's different. Me, I'm accountable. If you need my location, if I'm dating you and you want my location, you can have my location. I'm not hiding it. I'm 100% cool with that. And these are questions that I ask because I want to get people's perspective about it, right? Wouldn't you want to know if your significant other was in a bad accident or was kidnapped or anything else and they weren't able to contact you physically? You would know. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. But I'm not just going to go right out and be like, yo, you need to give me your location. Right? If you offered it up, that's one thing. And like me, like I said, I have nothing to hide. So like if you want my location and that's going to make you feel better, then here, take it. You can have my location. And I'm not hiding anything. But I'm just wondering, and I'm just asking for anybody that's watching out there, how do you feel about sharing locations with your partner? Does that make you feel like they don't trust you? Or if it's about safety, and safety is paramount, and I 100% agree, safety is paramount. If it's about safety, then I 100% agree. But is it about safety, or are you doing it because you don't trust me? That's what I need to know, because people do it for based off of trust also, So, but like I could spitball these questions of the day all the time. Like, how many dates should you be going out on a month with your partner to have a healthy relationship? Like, should there be a date night like every week? Should there be a date night twice a month? How many times a month should you and your partner be going out on a date to keep your relationship healthy? How many times a week should you be having sex with your partner to have a healthy relationship? Is it a red flag if that woman doesn't cook and clean? Is it a red flag if your partner doesn't go down on you? Like, these are legit questions. Some of them are silly, I said. Maybe they get a little inappropriate or like sexual, but like, I'm asking. Because there's men that won't go down on their partner, and there's women that won't go down on their partner. And can that affect your relationship? I think so. 100% I think so. Right? Like, I know somebody who's in a relationship, and that's something that doesn't happen. And even though they have a good relationship, it is a little bit of a damper on their relationship. And I know that they wish that it was something that didn't happen. So, and I know couples that think that they should be intimate with each other every single day. I know people said 3 times a week. Some people said, they're okay with once a week. You know, how many times a year should you and your partner be traveling, just you and your partner? Because, a lot of us have kids, right? Not everybody has kids, but a lot of us have kids. And, you could do family vacations all the time. But how many times a year should you and your partner be going on vacation alone, just you two, to keep that spark alive? You know, you know. Me, I'm not like a present kind of guy. That's not my love language. I don't need, you know, people to buy me gifts. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I think the shoes I'm wearing are from Walmart. They were like $15. They look like the Van slip-ons, but instead of $90 some Vans, they were like $15 from Walmart. I don't care. This hat was like a gift. This hat was a gift. You know, this hoodie was like from Primark for like $12, right? This t-shirt was like a $5 Walmart Aquaman t-shirt. Like, I don't need to be bougie. I mean, I have nice clothes. I wear clothes, nice clothes, and then I have clothes that I just lie around in. It's Sunday. It's raining in New York. Like, I don't need to be all bougie. So, but I'm not like a gift person. I don't need my partner to buy me gifts. I don't need my girlfriend to buy me gifts, right? I'm more of like, let's just spend time together kind of person. And I'm cool with that. Just like, you know, there's a saying, I want to get perverted, but like, feed me, fuck me, and like, I'm a happy person. Just spend time with me. I just want appreciation, attention, and I say what, the 3 A's, right? I need affection, appreciation, and attention. And you could kill all those birds with one stone by something simple. Give me a kiss on my cheek, tell me you love me and that you appreciate me. And at that one moment, you just literally killed 3 birds with one stone, right? You showed me attention, you showed me affection, you showed me appreciation, and I'm a simple guy. And people have different love languages. People need to, acts of service. Like, yeah, acts of service. I would love, if you did something for me, that'd be great. But that's not like something that I need. I don't need gifts either. I'm more of like a quality time kind of person, just spend time with me and I'm happy. Acts of service. If you cook for me, yeah, that's great. I love that. But like, I'm not that kind of person. So where I need, presents and stuff like that, I just need the attention. So that's what I'm saying. I could spitball these questions of the day nonstop. And I started this because I told you, I was like, one day I was in my feelings, I was just venting about things. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me get people's perspective on these things. Let me see how other people feel about a lot of the things that I'm talking about, right? And and I had so many questions that it was insane. And the questions just keep coming, like, every day I think of something new, right? Like, ladies, a question for the ladies out there. Would you, and I'm going to put these questions out here. Right now, I'm just spitting them off on my live, but these are questions that I have lined up where I will put a short out there and try to get everybody's perspective on it. But like, ladies, do you want a sensitive man or do you want an alpha man? Like, would you rather have an alpha male or would you rather have a sensitive male that doesn't, doesn't, he just bows down and says everything, or would you rather have a man that like stands his ground and takes care of his family, provides and does everything that he has to do for his family, right? These are different questions that I have. So I can get it going, I asked the question today: does politics and religion affect your relationship? If you have different political views and different religious views than your partner, does that affect your relationship also? These are things that I ask because I have my opinion on it, and I'm trying to get other people's opinion on it. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I could get these going. I could get this going every day. I have a question of the day. Every day, I'm trying to get people's perspective on things. Put it out there and see what people think about it. I'm just trying to put feelers out there, and I'll answer these questions. Right? I think that politics affect it. I think that sexual intimacy is huge in a relationship. I think that as far as date night goes, that for a healthy relationship, maybe like every 2 weeks we should go on a date night. Because I know that there's kids and work and stuff like that, and people can't always go on dates. But like every 2 weeks, maybe like every pay week, we can go on on a date. As far as traveling goes, how many times should you be traveling with your partner? I think that at least once or twice a year, you should be doing a trip with you and your partner, and keep the spark going. You know, let's see. The question of the day, as far as locations, I answered. Does jealousy and insecurities ruin relationships? Absolutely. I've had that happen to me. That's why I asked this. Insecurity can destroy relationships, 100%, 100%. Um, these are questions that I ask. Say Rachel says, I want a man to have both, but more manly man than sensitive. See, and you know what? Like I was raised, Rachel, that like a man is a man. We don't show emotions. You provide for your family, and you hold it down. You hold down the fort for your family. And I'm not an emotionally vulnerable man, and I feel like that's my downfall. Like I've had a lot of you know relationship issues with me not being emotionally vulnerable like that. But then when I do get emotionally vulnerable, then I feel like I get called a pussy. Oh, you're overthinking. You're being a pussy. All right. So then now I'm just gonna shut my mouth and I'm not gonna say shit. So it's like a double-edged sword at that point. If I don't open my mouth and say how I feel, I'm not emotionally vulnerable. But then when I do, I'm being a wuss. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's hard for a man, right? Because a man gotta face that. If he's too sensitive, then he's being a pussy. If he's too tough, then he's such a tough guy that he doesn't know how to be emotionally vulnerable, and women don't like that. So is it a double-edged sword? I don't know. You say that you want a man to be both. You want him to be manly and sensitive at the same time, but more manly, right? I was always raised that a man, he knew how to use tools, he fixed things, like especially me. I don't like calling another man to come and fix something for me. That like emasculates me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to call another man to come and fix something. I'll watch a YouTube video and I'll learn how to fix it myself. Everything that I learned how to fix, my father has even either taught me or I learned from watching a YouTube video. Like straight up, like I have every tool in the world to fix a Harley motorcycle. And I can pretty much do anything on a Harley motorcycle as far as repairs go because I've done it and I've watched YouTube videos to do it. You know, um, guns. Like I could build a rifle, I could build a gun part by part just from like YouTube videos, and I have every tool to do it because always felt like as a man, you never wanted to call another man to come over and fix something for you, right? That wasn't manly. So, and that goes to one of my questions that I have too. Does society beat down on a man? Absolutely. It's hard to be a man. It's hard to be a man. Very high expectations of being a man. You got to be strong. You got to be tough. You got to be, motivated. You got to basically, you know, a man doesn't ask for help, right? A man doesn't ask for help. That's how society puts it to us, right? Like men don't cry. Men don't fucking ask for help. A man is a man, and they gotta be a man. They gotta be a tough guy. But you say you think it's kind of hot when a man shows his emotion. But then if a man's crying at you, you're gonna be like, that's not gonna be hot to you, and you know it. You know it. If a man starts crying to you, you're gonna be like, oh, that's not gonna be hot. We know. We know it. Every girl says they want a man that shows his emotions. But as soon as a man starts crying and getting too emotional, you're gonna be like, this is a vagina. Absolutely. Society always looks at a man. A man has to be tough. Man doesn't show emotion. A man has to fight everything that comes his way, right? So But women say they want a man that's more emotionally vulnerable. But when that man gets emotionally vulnerable, then everybody wants to call a man a vagina. So, like, how do you win? How do you win in that? There's no beating that. Society beats down on men. Men always get the shit end of the stick in every situation, right? Like, even a man, right? Ladies, you're going to say that a man should be a man. He needs to provide for his family. He needs to provide. He needs to go to work. But then we can ask that question, which I've asked, right? Rachel, you said, I think it's hot. I'd rather have a man that shows his emotion than one that holds it back. Yeah, I guess so, right? But that's going to be hard to find. And we can go to this question that I asked, was probably like one of my questions of the day, one of my first ones, right? If a man is always providing, is he present? And if he's always present, is he providing? And everyone's going to say, oh, I want a man that's both, right? I want a man that provides and is present. But that's going to be so hard. And it's so crazy because I've been watching shit. I've been watching shows on TV, and it's like the universe is speaking to me because like 3 different shows said the same thing that I was watching. And it was like, each one of these shows I was watching were like one of these serial killer shows, right? Like the Monster Ed Gein story was like, the mother, he had an absentee father and his mother was very hard on him and he had mommy issues. So he became a killer. Then I was watching a TV show, Mind Hunters, which is like the same scenario and it's like about serial killers and stuff like that. And then I was watching like another one that was about serial killers and everybody has mommy issues. Everyone has mommy issues, absentee fathers. And in every show, there was like a guy that said every father is an absentee father in its own way. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's so crazy. And then another show said it, and the other show said it, and I'm like, and these shows are all based in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s, right? And those are the times where the man was always working. A man was always at work. A man provided for his family. A man took care of his family. A man was always working. And they said that it was an absentee father. Every man was an absentee father in its own way, right? Because the man was always providing. So is that how society is? The man is expected. The mom is expected to raise the kids and be the most important figure in a child's life. But then these kids that didn't have fathers ended up doing crazy things with their lives, right? And a father's needed for discipline. A father's needed for like skills. A father's needed, to be shown how to be a man, right? And I think that a father teaches a son how to be a man and what a man does, but the mother is what makes him a gentleman, if that makes sense, right? That's how I feel about it. Like a mother will make her son a gentleman, but a father makes the son a man. And they say that fathers are absentee in some way, right? Because a man's is always expected to provide for his family. That's how it is. A man is always expected to provide, and even like in the old days, the man provided. The moms, a lot of the moms were stay-at-home moms, right? And this day and age now, right? How is it? Women are still expecting men to provide. You got a lot of bougie women out there that want the man to pay all the bills and do everything. So it's also hard for a man to find a woman that wants to build a life together. So you got to think about that as a woman and as a man. And like I'm old school, like I do agree, like a man provides, a man works, a man takes care of his family. But like if we could build together, that's an empire, right? And I have a question of the day like that ready to go, and I'll ask it this week when I get a chance, when it stops raining and stuff and I can make some videos. I have a question of the day ready, and it's like, in this day and age, is it even worth having kids anymore, or is it better just to build an empire? Because you got men and women that don't want to have kids, right? You got men and women that don't want to have kids because it's expensive. There's women that don't want to have kids. There's men that don't want to have kids, and you think about it. Is it worth it to have kids in this day and age? with relationships being as fucked up as they are, because we could go into the statistics, right? 56% of marriages end up in divorce, right? Um, for military people, it's like 85%. For police officers, it's like 75%. Um, for you know, I think it was like 45% of those marriages that ended in divorce ended up with infidelity, right? So now, do you do you get married and do you have kids? What do you do? Some people don't want to get married. People that have kids don't want to have more kids, you know? People that the dating world is fucked up, and I put it all on social media. At the end of the day, social media really destroys relationships, and it gives people that false perspective, that false reality, that false perception, and that whole, we had this conversation that social media gives people too many options, right? Social media gives too many people the option to cheat, and social media gives people that that false, like, perception that they can get somebody that's way out of their league, right? You know, you got rappers and rich people that are flying girls out on flights to, other states and whining and dining them and stuff like that. Like, and then, you say you got a small town girl. She has a boyfriend that probably makes, a decent living, but nothing crazy. And then, she messages some celebrity or whatever who actually reaches out back. He's like, here, I'll fly you to LA for the week. I'm going to give you $10,000 cash, blah, blah, expecting some loving. And that's how it is. So social media, social media can ruin relationships. And that's a question I asked. I asked that question. Do you think that social media ruins relationships? A lot of people said yes. A lot of people said no. Some people said no. People ruin relationships. But, at the same time, I don't know. I think that social media gives too many options, right? And then I asked that, you know, the question of providing and present. Because if a man's providing all the time, is he present? And if he's present all the time, is he providing? And some women were saying, well, they would rather have a man that's working hard and providing, and they can understand if he's not present all the time, right? Everyone is just a DM away. That's how easy it is, though. It's so easy. Everyone is a DM away, right? Anybody. And no one's scared of rejection, right? Because if you DM somebody, they don't answer you. They don't answer you. It's not, you didn't get rejected. Or if they tell you that they're not interested, it didn't hurt because you didn't need the courage or the balls to go up to that person and, like, face your fears and spit game. You didn't need to do it, right? Everyone's a DM away. So you could be an okay looking guy, and it could be this beautiful girl that that in the streets you would never walk up to, and you would never spit game to this girl because you didn't have the balls to do it. And you could just DM her. And if she answers, she answers. If she doesn't, she doesn't. You didn't get rejected, so it doesn't matter, right? You didn't get rejected. And I said this once before, a man lives off of failure, right? Or the fear of failure. So, and that might not just be a man thing, right? They could be women too. Women don't want to fail. So I'm not even just going to say it like that. Like, nobody wants to fail. If anything, you're going to want to succeed. So anything that's put in your way is going to, push you to do better, right? You're going to get past that obstacle, right? Well, I would rather have a hardworking man, that one that is always with me. If they're working and making money to pay the bills, I'm fine with them doing that. Yeah, a lot of people said the same thing. But then you have people that don't want that. Then you have girls that are very needy. They feel alone. They can't handle that their man is always working. They feel like, they're doing things on their own, and then they go out and cheat to the next guy that just DM'd them on fucking Instagram. So that's what I'm saying. It's a double-edged sword. If you're present, if you're providing all the time, you're not present, then that could be a big, you know, hardship on your relationship. But then if you're present all the time, now you can't afford to do anything and you're not paying the bills. And then that could be, a big, disastrous, part of your relationship. Because now people are feeling some kind of way, like, oh, we're struggling, the bills are not being paid. So that's what I'm saying. It's really a double-edged sword for a man, because if they're providing all the time, then they're not present, and then the woman might, go out and cheat. And if they're present all the time, then the woman's not gonna is gonna feel like they're a bum and they're not doing their thing and they're not providing for the family. So you can't really win in that aspect, right? And and we could tie this in with the social media thing, right? Because then the girl goes out on social media, she's watching all these reels, and then she's getting DM'd and stuff like that, and that changes the whole aspect of the relationship. And you know, so that's why I ask these questions of the day, because I'm just trying to put feelers out there, get a conversation going. Don't be afraid to put to put it out there. Who cares if you feel like you're offending somebody? You're never gonna see these people. Put in the comments of my little shorts of the question of the day, and put your perspective out there, because believe it or not, there's a lot of people that think the same way as you. A lot of people have the same feelings. Let's see, Rachel says, if the man is working and making money to pay the bills, then I'm fine with them doing that. I will always be loyal to the person I'm with. Yeah, and you know what? More power to you. But there's not a lot of women like that. And I'm not just trying to shit on women, and don't think that I'm trying to do that. But me personally, my belief is, and I might get a little hate about it, but me personally, I believe that a man is more willing to sacrifice his happiness for the greater good or his family, right? That's how I believe it. So, like, a man will stay in a shitty, toxic relationship for, his family, or for maybe being comfortable, than a woman would. If a woman thinks that it's like a bad situation, or she doesn't love anymore, she'll go. Even though a man may not have loved that woman for years, he'll still stay. He'll still stay. So, I don't know. Different perspectives. That's why I said, don't feel like, you know, you're gonna stir the pot, or that you're no answer is the wrong answer here. I am not a professional by any means. Like I say this. This is my disclaimer. I am not a professional by any means. I am not giving advice. If anything, I'm trying to take advice. I'm trying to ask for advice. I just want to see, get a conversation going. This is the whole point of this channel, is to get a conversation going about real life shit, instead of watching the world record fart, or, you know, everything's about politics. Everything's about protesting and politics, or silly, stupid shit. Let's get a real conversation going, and we'll get it. When I said no man does that. What? No man stays in a shitty relationship just for what? Yeah, men are the first to leave. I don't think so. I don't think so, and I can attest to that on so many different levels. I work with men that tell me that they haven't loved their wives in like 10 years, but they stay because it's their family. They're a family, they got a house, they got a career, they have, their kids, and that, they suck it up and deal with it. So men are the first to leave. They're not problem solvers. Uh, I think that men always want to solve problems. I think that's how we do it. I think that we always want to solve problems. Even, like, think about it, in a breakup situation, when a man and woman break up, like, a man is always like, what's going on? Like, how can I fix this? Because we're trying to think logically. Like, how can I fix this? What do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do. You need me to do this? You need me to do that? I'll do it. I'll do it, because we want to solve the problem. So, I don't know. I might disagree with you on that one. And you know what? We'll use that as a question of the day. I'll put that out there. When a relationship goes bad, who's the first person to leave? The man or the woman? So we'll get that out there. But all right, guys, I'm gonna call it a night. Have a good one. Stay safe. Don't do anything stupid. If you're going through a hard time, this too shall pass. And you know, to the next time. Have a good one.